Okay, I'd like to call a meeting to order, and Commissioner Eichenbaum is on Zoom, so hopefully he can hear us and we can hear him. Can you hear us, Dan?
Yeah, I got you.
Okay, all right. So Ben, if you care to do the invocation.
God, we thank you so much for all your blessings that you give at each and every one of us. And as we come to you tonight, Lord, we just pray that you'll be with each and every person that's here and safe travels back to our homes. We pray for everyone that is sick and people that's lost loved ones, wherever they're at, God. We just pray for any county, state, local employees anywhere that is suffering from illness tonight. God, just give them the extra power that only you can do. And God, as we conduct your business, let us do it openly before you and let us do all things that honor you. In your name we pray. Amen.
Do the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we have our ethics statement. Members of the County Board of Commissioners are advised hereby of their duty under the Local Government Ethics Act and should avoid conflicts of interest and the appearance of such conflict. And further, are instructed to refrain from participating in any matter coming before this Board of County Commissioners with respect to which there is a conflict of interest or appearance of such conflict as may be allowed by law. Agenda modifications.
We have two. We need to remove item D under budget and finance, the airport fee schedule. That'll be at a later meeting. And then also remove the closed session. That will not be necessary for tonight.
I have a budget amendment too, when you get a chance.
He has a modification.
Okay, let's go ahead and approve these two and then we'll do yours. Motion, I'd like a motion to remove
Motion
these
to
two.
approve these two that Randy just made.
Okay, second. Okay, I have a motion second. All in favor to remove? Okay, Dan?
I would propose, as I guess would be item D under budget and finance, the use of Article 46 sales tax by the school system for trainers, which is required by the state of North Carolina to have football programs, pending the request of such by the school board because of the different meeting dates. It's important to have this in place so there's not a lapse and the football programs can proceed.
We have a motion to add that to the agenda. Do we have a second for that?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Okay, so now I'd like to adopt the agenda. We have a motion to adopt it as presented.
Make a motion to adopt the agenda as presented.
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Okay, the first order is the recognition of the Anti-Litter Coalition volunteers. Jan?
So, about 2 years ago, Cherokee County Board of Commissioners instituted the Anti-Litter in Action Coalition. And this year, it is my distinct pleasure to award them with a certificate from the governor's office. So if I could have the 6 of you, if you'll come up over here by the podium, please. I'm going to read this and then I'll come over and actually present the award to each of you and the pin that comes with it. This is the Governor's Award for Volunteer Service, and it is to certify that these individuals, David Mackey, Kimberly Mackey, Martin Barros, John Mason, Karen Herring, and Mike Herring, are awarded the highest designation of appreciation for distinguished volunteer service to the people and the state of North Carolina, and is to be granted and extended all honors and courtesies provided by this office, entitled thereunto by this certificate of recognition and appreciation, Signed, Roy Cooper, Governor, March 27th, 2023. I want you to know that these individuals don't stay just in their own neighborhoods to pick up trash. They are all over this county. And you would not believe the tons of waste that they have picked up. It would be my sincere hope that we eventually get to where we don't have to have this group. But from the bottom of my heart, I thank you for carrying on Gary Chamberlain's work that he did for our county. It meant a lot, and the fact that you guys continue to do this each and every day, each and every week for our county to keep it beautiful, I truly appreciate that. So Dave Mackey is our chairman. His wife Kim is the vice chair. We have Martin Barris, John Mason, Karen Herring, and her husband Mike. And with that goes a pin to each of you. And again, from all the citizens of Cherokee County, thank you for what you do. It's volunteer work.
Okay, public forum is limited to 3 minutes, and I don't know if anyone has signed up or not.
We have three people signed up. The first is John Laird.
Good evening. I want to thank the board for the positive things that we saw last week with the meeting with the FAA, the Department of Transportation. It looks like it was a great step forward in correcting some of the issues that have been plaguing this airport for quite some time. And I also want to thank that Chris has been really stepping on it as the airport manager. I also like to thank myself for, does anybody know what this is? This is a telephone line finder. So I found on one weekend the telephone line that was supposed to ring for the weather station. And thanks to my information I was able to give Chris the following week, your IT department finally found the mix-up of the blue pairs in the ceiling inside the office. So with it, the weather station is working again. Thank you very much. On a more somber note, I was extremely distressed to learn over the weekend that your most experienced, and I emphasize the most experienced employee that you had has been terminated, in my opinion, without due process. I don't know what the procedures are supposed to be, but typically, you know, you get a first offense, you get a written note in your file, and in my opinion, now the airport is back in disarray. Saturday, when a commercial jet came in, there was no service because the airport manager put a sticker in the window saying, you know, due to short staffing, end of story. There was no replacement put in for that purpose. And who knows how much money that the county lost in fuel sales because the new fuel truck, which the terminated employee was able to operate, it's just, anyway. You lost the best guy that you had out there, and now we're starting all over again. That's all I got for right now. Thanks.
Becky Wright and Penny Harrison. Y'all are both signed up together. Are you sharing that time? Thank you.
We're pairing up, yes. We're a team. Commissioners, for allowing me to speak again tonight. My first question to all of you on the planning board, we got something done on crypto stopping in the transmission lines.
I'm gonna answer, no, we don't. We don't yet have our comprehensive plan done, and until that is done, we cannot do anything more. That's our first step.
I'd like to see us to get to moving on that. If you've noticed, we're on the world stage, not just the nation, outside of the country. I've had calls. Cherokee County is all over the place. Other folks are watching what's going on here. Asheville, May 2nd, watching us put a moratorium in place for 1 year, no crypto. They're gonna work on it to see where to go. Macon, Jackson, Swain, Haywood counties, many other counties. I realized that when we brought crypto to Cherokee County, the first in 2017, we didn't know we were the first in the state, what we were really dealing with. Now we do know, so we need to make those changes to an entity that's taken from us, and only the local PCs are benefiting. Haywood County Commissioner Tommy Long spoke with our chair, Cal Stiles, early this month in May, because he's working on Haywood County to get something in place. And I was totally shocked that Mr. Stiles told that the crypto mine, just one in our county, uses enough power to run 2 towns of Murphy, okay? And he also told Commissioner Long that a huge problem is the tremendous strain on our power grid. And crypto doesn't contribute to local economy because only the LPCs and TVA makes the money. TVA Power and Transmission Lines Senior Vice President Aaron Melda, that I got a statement from, there is a load assessment for Cherokee County. And he said that TVA has a contractual agreement with the LPCs to supply their customer requirements. I spoke with Spencer Whittier, our routing engineer with TVA, last week, because it's late spring. We're on the ground. It's time for them to start deciding the route. We don't need the transmission lines. If crypto is not asking, we need just the alone at Marble, 250 megawatts would run this county for years. We have got to come together on this, and y'all were the folks with the paper to do it. And Mr. Brown, to get something in place, we got to stop it, or they're gonna come 450 parcels of property. And I have put my life on hold trying to help everybody in this county. I have people from every week calling. I was trying to change my life into a retirement place, but this county has always helped each other. We've had a spine. We messed up with crypto. Let's correct it and go forward. And
Thank
so
you.
I hope y'all can come together and get something in place. And I'm really proud of Asheville and the other counties that's looking to us, the other countries that I've heard from that's watching us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ron Wright. Ron.
I want to thank the commissioners for their hard work and all their efforts and stuff. But once again, I need to start off by saying, I need an answer now, because today we only have 3 people on the sign-up list, and we the people need to be heard. Can I ask one question? Who made the decision that there were only allowed 3 minutes for we the people?
That's been a board decision. 3/4 of the commissioner boards in North Carolina is 3 minutes. We have 3 minutes, and we don't anticipate changing.
Okay.
So, and you might be better, if you use the time to discuss other things, because we're not going, the 3 minutes is it, Ron.
Okay,
You can
so
state a pretty good case in 3 minutes.
In
or
the
so.
3 minutes, do all of you stick to 3 minutes and follow "We the People," the Constitution of the United States? Do you do the Bill of Rights? If you read in there, you are supposed to be working for "we the people." We are not supposed to be working for you. We entrust by voting for you to answer and make the decisions based on what the people want. If you only have 3 people and you only allow 3 minutes, that's 9 minutes. The people in this room deserve more than 9 minutes. They deserve more than 3 minutes. And each county is independently ruled by the commissioners. You can make a decision to 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, but I think we need to let the people speak, because I'm gonna go to another word, budget. When you do the budget, do you listen to the people? Or do you make a decision based on how you feel? When you have transparency, do you what the people want, or do you do what you want in transparency? We look back in the past at this county, and I'm gonna say taxpayers, because we are suffering the burden for the taxes in this county, and you're making the decision to punish us for people that are doing the wrong things. One of the main things is the TVA. We all have been asking for 6 months and over a year, and we get nothing but lies from the TVA. We go to the DOT and they make decisions, and then we find out after the decisions are made, once again, they lie to us. And I hate to use that word lie. I was brought up in a family where you're either right or you're wrong, and you're either lying or you're telling the truth. I think it's time for everybody in this county to look at the budget, and if you get a grant is you're getting part of the money, but then the county is paying part of this, and that's the taxpayers. So if you get a budget or grant for 100,000, you say, I want 20,000 from you. You got $500,000. You're gonna have to pay 50,000. That budget needs to be budgeted, because Grandpa said if you only got $1, you can only spend $1. You can't spend $2. And I do thank you for your time. And I wish you would look at that 3 minutes and address it to the people. Thank you.
I do gotta say something to that, and I know I'm out of line, but Ron, I gotta tell you too, talking about the DOT, we didn't have a clue. So I mean, I know, but what I'm saying is, you're standing up here talking about how us as elected officials are not doing our job. We went to the DOT meeting.
Wait a minute. Did I
No.
say you're not doing your job?
No, let me finish. You had your 3 minutes.
No, let's
Hey,
get the
Skip,
right word.
hey, I'm sorry. He
No.
has the floor.
Hold on. I'll set the timer, Maria, because I want my 3 minutes. I'm a citizen. I get to speak as well for 3
That's
minutes.
right.
And this is what I'm saying. We're sitting right here. We had a meeting with the DOT. There was hardly anybody in this room that was there. 3 of your commissioners were there. No one else was there. Were you there?
No.
Oh, well, wait, it's just a question. We were there. I got to the point, I got so irate, the picture and the scout showed me. We don't have a say-so with the DOT. We have sent emails back and forth to them, trying to get them to listen to us, and they won't. And then you talk about the TVA. If you know, Congressman Edwards had 3 meetings in 1 week with the TVA, try to get them stopped. And we talk about transparency in our government. The budget meetings are open to the public. Everything we do is open to the public except closed session. Closed session is things that cannot be open to the public per general statutes of the state of North Carolina. Everything else is open to the public, and if the people want to come, they're more than welcome to come. And I encourage you to question your leaders about what we do with the budget. I do encourage that. And one thing about budgeting for grants, sometimes we can't do that because we don't know what grants are available ahead of time to be able to budget. And I understand your frustration, I do. But this is my first year, and I shouldn't even be saying this. But what I'm saying is, we do a lot of work behind the scenes, and we get credit for absolutely nothing. Not that we're looking for credit. But what I'm saying is, when you get up here, and I don't mind, and I'm not angry, because I don't get angry about stuff like this. I'm a politician. You don't get angry about stuff like this. But what I'm saying is, though, you sit here and talk about the DOT. We tried our absolute best. We've even went to the governor. We sent a proclamation saying that we're against all the roundabouts. We don't want none of this to happen. We went to the DOT, went to their meeting, discussed it with their engineers. It's already a done deal. We've tried to stop it. Went to the TVA, went to our congressman, wrote things against it. We don't have a say-so. I want to see our county stay just like it has been. I am that person. And it just kind of burns a little bit when you don't think we do anything. I'm not saying we do a lot, but what I'm saying is we need everybody on board. We have 3 people signed up tonight. More than 3 can sign up. That's perfectly fine. That's your God-given right. That's the First Amendment. You have the right to freedom of speech. You have that right. And
Well, I only have the right of 3 minutes.
exactly, so do I. I get 3 minutes for this right here. That's because that's public comment. And just on a personal note, this is just me, nobody else. If we limit it for more than 3 minutes, it's gonna be a back and forth for 2 hours. And we won't ever get any county business done.
I think the people here.
Okay.
Oh, I would love to talk to you. I've got 14 seconds. I would love to talk to anyone that wants to go back and forth after this meeting. Perfectly fine. I don't have a problem with that. And I'm just saying, there's a lot more goes on than what we get accused of.
Okay, one question.
No, I'm sorry, we finished.
I was
I've got one question.
No,
and then-
no.
I wasn't speaking
No,
as a
sir.
commissioner, I'm speaking as a
No.
public citizen in my 3 minutes.
I can't even ask a question.
No,
You can afterwards.
you can't after.
You can
We
grab
do
me
it
all day
next
long.
week. Next meeting. Okay.
Okay.
Is that the end of public forum, Maria?
Yes.
Okay. So our first is, budget and finance. Mr. Shook with the Nantahala Regional Library.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and just wanted to thank you, Cherokee County Commissioners, for allowing me a few moments at your meeting. My name is Franklin Shook, I'm the director. Yeah, I'm the director for Nantahala Regional Library. Since we're in the age where everybody wants to set trends online, TikTok, YouTube, that sort of thing, I find it very interesting that we mountain people were trendsetters way before it was popular. We were trendsetters because we understand the importance of innovation born from necessity. Because we knew this in 1940, Cherokee, Clay, and Graham County came together to create the first regional library system in the state of North Carolina. We're the oldest of 12 regional library systems in North Carolina. We're 83 as of November this year. Our mission is to help you inform, educate, and enjoy, and create for yourself. In short, when you arrive at our library, my hope is that you never leave empty-minded. Did you know that your library is the only immediate access to your tax dollar? We also share regionally and statewide items, and that means your tax dollar stretches. Did you also know that our library is one of the only institutions that you can come to without the expectation of spending money? We invite you to come to our library, get a library card, and take advantage of your taxes working for you in the best way. Here's what your library card can get for you. Since 2022, we now have access to over 7.8 million physical items across the state. That means you can check out a book in Asheville or Winston-Salem and have it delivered to your library here. We also have 90,000 plus ebooks, audiobooks, and magazines for adults and children. And many of these items can be read on a Kindle. Thanks to our friends at the library, we have access to what we call the Wonder Pass. You can come and check out the Wonder Pass. It's free admission to the WNC Nature Center for 2 adults and up to 4 children. We also have a youth services librarian who does story time at all of our libraries. Miss Bridget is on Mondays in Murphy and on Wednesdays in Andrews. She also does our summer reading programs. And that's a lot, those are a lot of fun. It's really fun to watch the kids have fun with those. Those start the week of June 12th, and we ask that you be on the lookout on Facebook and on our website. We have local history rooms for heritage research. We have access to Ancestry.com in the library, and we have another database called America's News. It's a huge database of newspaper articles, and that it includes all 3 of our local county papers. We have meeting rooms for use by the public. We have DVDs and full seasons of TV series that you can check out. We have access to Wi-Fi and computers freely available. And we also have printing, copying, and faxing. This is just a small list of what we've got to offer, and not including the wonderful library staff who are eager to help you find what you're looking for. We encourage you to come visit and get a card and never leave empty-minded. Thank you.
request to transfer funds from the fuel line in the budget to capital. A request of $82,200. Do we have some?
They left you holding the bag,
They
didn't they?
did. But that's okay, I wrote it up, so hopefully I can answer the question. We're looking to purchase 2 vehicles, a new one from Brennan Motors that we already have the quote attached. And then Andrews, has a canine vehicle that we're in desperate need of. We have a canine vehicle that, is not functional with our canine. It could actually, the AC unit doesn't work when the unit is not in motion all the time. So it could actually cause injury to the canine. Andrews has one available with 60,000 miles on it in very good condition. It's already set up. All we have to do is put the decals on it and put our radio in it, which I have included in that quote as well. The funds are actually in the budget. We're just asking for those funds to be transferred from the fuel line item to capital so we can make those 2 purchases. And with that transfer, we have gone over it, and I know Candy and I talked about it. We will have plenty of money in the fuel line to cover until the end of fiscal year.
I make a motion that we move these funds before they can purchase these vehicles, especially the K-9 unit that's already available, because the last thing we want is a K-9 left in the back of the car in the summer coming
I'll
up.
second the motion.
When we discussed this, I think it was during the budget work session, we discussed the possibility of doing this. So we have a motion and a second to transfer these funds to allocate it to purchase these 2 vehicles. Do we have any discussion? All in favor? Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you.
that was too easy, wasn't it? Next is the sheriff's request to increase the fees for holding out of county inmates.
You got a quote on that somewhere, or?
We don't have to vote on it, it's just up for discussion. The discussion is for going from 40 to 55 a day, the state pays 40. Anything they have local, we take care of, if they have a dentist appointment, a doctor appointment, anything like that. The meals alone would compensate for $15, and it's becoming pretty much the norm across the state. A lot of counties are doing it because they're not paying for nobody to watch them. They're not paying for meals, so they have local transportation to take care of it, so I've run into no problem with any county I've talked to so far. So that takes care of, they're already getting the money from the state, and then they reimburse us the money, but the deduction is the meals and transportation.
This is basically the increase in commissioners have to approve all fees. So we typically, right now, we're charging, like, say, if we're holding a Graham County inmate, we're charging $40 a day, we wanna increase that to $55 a day.
We can do that tonight.
Yes, please.
I make a motion to increase from $40 to $55 a day. It makes sense.
I'll second it.
Makes dollars.
It makes dollars, yes, it makes dollars.
We have a motion and a second, any discussion?
What do we get for federal inmates, if you know right off?
I think it's 56, I already have the contract in, have paperwork in for a 3rd time to get increased. Don't know what we'll get increased with, we'll go before them on a federal level. You go back and forth, we're going for an increase for both officers and daily. I don't know when that's gonna come into effect, it's up to the federal government. So when they get back with us, then I'll present it up here before we do anything naturally, and you'll know the numbers then, because I do not know the numbers. What I'm going for right now is $96 a day per inmate and $26 per officer, and it takes 2 officers for any transport. That's what I'm looking for an increase. You have to put it in multiple times, the way I understand it, and it's in 3 times now. If I have to put it in 25 times, I'll put it in 25 times.
Thank you. Motion and a second to increase the rates, all in favor? Okay.
Thank you all very much.
Next item is concerning the Article 46 sales tax for the schools and the athletic trainers. So, Dan, go ahead, you got that.
Thank you. Jeff Tathan, contacted me, I know he contacted you, Ben.
Yeah.
And Randy. Apparently, the state of North Carolina requires that a school has trainers in order to have a football program. They've run into problems, this year. If Jeff Tatham is in the room, he can explain that better than I, but nevertheless, this is something required by the state, and they're coming up against a time when they have to have this in place in order to start the football programs at Andrews and Murphy. The school board has to actually request this. What I'm requesting per Jeff Tathan is that we agree to the use of the Article 46 sales tax by the school system for the trainers, as long as there is a request from the school board at their next meeting to do so.
And what had happened, Harris Regional was providing, and they dropped us, Murphy and Hazel, because they wasn't getting referrals from our schools for other.
Orthopedic surgery, right, okay. Commissioner Griggs?
What's the cost? What are we looking at setting aside for this?
$153,551.50 for both schools for, salary, health insurance, retirement, FICA, and all. $73,472 for Andrews, and $80,079.50 for Murphy High.
What's-
Correct, Jeff?
What's the difference between the Murphy and Andrews price?
The difference between Murphy and Andrews price is the Murphy trainer has more years of experience, and so the pay is based on years of experience.
So you already have the trainers in place, but you've lost the funding for them, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am, well, the trainers were free, so Harris Regional provided those to us for free. It was kind of an investment in, if we had a student athlete get a sports-related injury, they would refer those out to Harris Regional, but the student athletes that are injured from Andrews, Murphy, and Hayesville typically go to Union County, and so Harris basically loses money on us, so they dropped our contract, and this has been very sudden, and we haven't had time to meet on it. They provide that service to every high school in western North Carolina, as far as I know, but now we don't have that service. But yes, ma'am, we do have the trainers now, but they are, they just recently were told they're soon to be unemployed, so we're basically gonna lose them if we don't do something very quickly, and that's why it was kind of
And
addressed
Jeff,
in this manner.
which sports do these trainers cover?
Every sport.
Every
We are-
sport.
We are legally required to have them for football and wrestling. Now, I will say that we legally can get by with first responders, but there's lots of reasons why, an athletic trainer is, in my opinion, much more needed than a first responder. But once we have those, we legally have to have those in order to have football and wrestling. They are available for every sport. So, baseball, if a kid gets hurt in baseball, softball, golf,
Volleyball.
doesn't matter.
So what's
Volleyball.
down at Hiawassee Dam? You've just mentioned Andrews and
Yes.
Murphy.
I believe they, get by with just a first responder. I will say that I think, I'll go on record and say I think Hiawassee Dam should have a trainer as well. But that's added to that cost, and we don't have to have one, within the next few weeks.
Football is required by the state before they can do anything, they have to have.
But I would love to have one
trainer.
in Hiawassee Dam as well.
What do they do? I mean, if it's football and wrestling, what do they do the rest of the time? I mean, to make this a full-time position that's roughly $175,000-$80,000 job, what do they do other than that? I mean, because they don't play football year-round or wrestle.
Yes, sir, they, at Murphy and Andrews, we have to have them because of those sports, but they are on campus and available, for every sports season. So if a child gets injured, in baseball or softball, they're there and they treat those injuries.
And basketball, they're.
Basketball, everything.
They'll take care of the ankles and the sprained ankles, knees, things at basketball games. And I worked when I was at Andrews a lot. I really seen Jay up there. I mean, it didn't matter what sport the kids played. If he had a problem, they could go see Jay and he would recommend the best course of treatment for that kid to get back onto the playing field or whatever.
Chairman of the school board, yes, ma'am.
Hey, so we actually haven't had our meeting about this yet, and this is on our agenda for Thursday night, to be discussed with all board members, with all information, so we can all make a decision on this. And I realize the urgency to lock into place athletic trainers. I understand that, but we haven't followed our own process to bring that to you all. So, you know, while I understand we wanna get this locked down and we wanna get these athletic trainers on board, should we submit that and it comes to you as a request, those jobs will be posted. So while we do have 2 folks who are in those positions, they're going to have to apply for them since they will become our employees. You know, like I said, our meeting is Thursday. I understand that you all have a budget work session next Tuesday, the 23rd. And if we need to, we have something that we need to bring to you to take action on this, that I can come to you all on the 23rd with this in order for it to be heard. Yes or no?
I think that's the best. We had discussed some of this, and I think that we understand the need, and we also, the call comes from the school board, not from us.
Right.
And I feel like myself personally, I agree with you, that we need to wait until Tuesday night when we have a budget work session, after your board has met and made a decision on what they want us to try to support. So I think it'd be in our best interest to go ahead and wait. We get their response and their request, and then we can act on it then. This is a little different than fixing a boiler.
Yes.
Or something like that in the past, right? This is employees, yes.
Mr. Chairman, can I say one more thing? And I would like to apologize. I know this is very unusual the way this has come up. I've been on the school board for several years. I've never come to you guys with anything like this before. We're gonna lose our trainers probably this week, and that was the urgency, for this, because I didn't think we could wait. So if we lose the trainers, we're gonna have to try to fill this, in less than 10 weeks. And I mean, we still, in Hollis and Andrews, we still teach, even post-COVID, we teach math classes over a computer because we can't find math teachers. We will not find athletic trainers in the time period if we lose these athletic trainers. So I do apologize. I just wanted to see if we could get some sort of pre-approval, and then if we do, approve this, then we can already have that in place, but,
I think I understand what you're saying, but I think we're getting the cart ahead of the horse, so to speak. And I'm sure that for just a few days, that your finance officer can find enough funding. I don't know, what's the last date of funding for these positions from Harry? Do you know?
It's in my packet.
Yeah, I know. I mean, is it what, you said the next few days? Are
Yes,
they
sir.
terminating in the middle of the month?
No, what we have is a lot of specialized individuals have been told they're not gonna be employed, and they're very marketable,
Yeah,
and
well-
so they're gonna go somewhere else.
Well, I think they would understand that you've gotta go through a procedure, and if they want to be there, they realize what's fixing to happen, so I wouldn't think that would make a few difference. And if it is, in terms of paying them for a week or 4 or 5 days, I'm sure the school has some discretionary dollars they could take care of that until this would be approved. And I assume this is just gonna be approved for the, next year fiscal 23-24 budget, right? Or is this something that's gonna happen earlier?
We're gonna have to discuss that.
Okay, all right. I would make a motion then that we table this until our meeting on the 23rd, at which time they can give us their formal recommendation from the school board.
I'll second that motion.
Well, I have a question.
Okay.
The athletic trainers that are currently there right now, are they guaranteed that they will get the job if we do make them openings?
I don't think we can necessarily guarantee that, because, if we would have to post the job and, apply.
And
Didn't he make a motion to approve it?
Now, he made a motion to put it on the agenda, which we did.
well, my question, if they're, I support this 110%. We have to have athletic trainers for the high schools. There's no doubt about it. Is there any way that we could approve a month salary and
Well, I
just
don't
pay for
think-
1 month?
But I don't think that's the issue right now. And I think that it's up to the board for them to decide, and it's gonna, they're gonna meet today, it's Monday, is that right? So you're gonna meet Thursday night, and then we'll be meeting a week from tomorrow. So I don't think that, surely the thing would fall apart in a week's time. Excuse me, Maria?
I just wanna go back and say that, Dr. Ackerman did make a motion. His motion was to approve the budget amendment for Article 46, where that's
Oh,
like
I didn't hear it, I'm sorry.
to use the 46 sales tax as long as there's a request by the Board of Education at their next meeting to do so. So there was a motion on the floor.
So his motion essentially says what I made a motion, so we'll fall back to Dan's motion to wait until Tuesday, that's what he's
Well, I think
technically saying.
his motion
No,
was,
he's saying.
To set
he's
aside
saying
some
to
money.
set it aside tonight, so.
I think we need to wait till the school board makes their decision.
And I'll also say that we have 2 school board members here and they're on opposite ends of the spectrum, so I would prefer to defer it until after they have their meeting and they can discuss and come to us with what they want.
We'll have to get a second on Dan's motion.
I'll second Dan's motion, because I understand where, I've seen it and I understand it.
I know, but okay, we've got a motion second, any
Well,
further discussion?
yeah, I have a little bit more discussion because, I mean, I see exactly where they're coming from. I'm just wondering if we can settle for a lower amount, because if we do lose those personal trainers, you're looking at no football for Murphy or Andrews until one's hired, and who knows when that'll be. And they live and die by football in this town. And I mean, I understand what you're saying here, but I mean, I don't wanna approve the entire salary, $154,000, because that's something we're gonna have to work out in the budget thing. Because that is a lot of money.
But they can't tell us what the
think-
term is, and I would think that.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry, I think it's gonna be a moot point anyway. You're gonna call for a vote, and, Commissioner Ackerman can't vote. He can make the motion, but he can't vote because he's participating by Zoom and we're no longer in a state of emergency. Sounds to me like it's gonna be a 2-2 anyway.
So we're gonna have to table it anyway.
Well,
So,
we both see,
so if
we
it's
never know. I'm
2
working
to
on
2 and
it.
it fails, then you can go to your next motion.
Okay, so we have,
I go with Randy. I do vote that we fund it. I just don't wanna fund the entire $154,000.
but that's what the motion
Yeah,
is.
that is the motion, so I vote no to that, but I want to amend the
Okay,
motion.
we got the motion, let's go with Dan's, to go ahead and fund tonight for that $153,000 and some odd dollars, pre-approved. So we have a motion and a second to do that.
153, 551.
Okay, so, we have all in favor? Okay, all opposed? Okay.
Now, can I amend the motion to fund $12,834, which is a 1-month payment, just to say?
I don't know
He
that-
had another motion.
I got my motion up there on next, it's in line, but I just don't think, I understand what you're saying, Ben, but I don't know that these folks are going anywhere. They can't tell us right now what the employment date is. We don't know. I mean, they may have, I would assume that most budgets are made based on the fiscal year. And I would say that what they've done, Madam Chairman, I would say they've given you notice ahead of time that they're not gonna fund the next fiscal year.
I believe
So we've
the
got
notice
some
was-
time.
yeah,
I don't
was
think they
given
would have just
before.
terminated. So I think that we do have some time, so I'll, restate my motion again that, I'd like for us to table it until Tuesday night, the 23rd, after we hear from the school board, after they make their decision. I don't think we should supersede them, let them make their decision, and then we'll work around that.
And I'll second that motion.
Okay. Have the first and second, any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed?
So we're back to stalemate.
So nothing
Still
happened.
needed.
Okay.
Well,
So
I will-
Tuesday night. Okay, now then, next item. Let's see what else we got. That was the last one, school.
Solid waste.
Yeah, the solid waste was next. Okay, and on that, we have, the expenditures for Unaka as well as Texana, to upgrade Texana and to do, the one at Unaka.
So the exhaustive list that's attached to that, Rob developed for the development of those 2 sites. He is certainly,
I thought,
Yeah, and it covers every
Detail.
contingency. And again, there may be some things that, you know, you won't know until you get into the development, but the whole point of this will be to develop both of those sites in order that they both can be staffed convenient sites that can be locked up when they are not staffed. That was our understanding before the board was headed for those two locations. So this budget revision contains the dollars necessary to get that, in place, so that once those employees are hired, they can be operational.
So this budget includes the remainder of this year for the employees, correct?
No, this is just site development.
Just site development, we
Yes.
haven't looked at the Invocation.
No.
Okay.
And they also have an
Is that
upgrade
the
to the
100?
Candy Mountain Gate.
Is that the $115,000?
That's the full development for Unaka, that's some additional work at Texana, and then an upgrade to the gate at Candy Mountain.
But that's just to get us to July.
That's only for the development, not the actual staffing of the two sites. Once they're ready to be staffed, if that hits before July, we'll talk to you again, but it may be July 1 before that's ready. But they can go ahead and be, if the board's supportive of the recommended budget, which includes the funding for those 4 positions, if we know that ahead of time, then the advertising can begin for that.
I make a
And we'll
motion.
talk about that Tuesday night as well.
Andy, we got that to do with?
Huh?
Have we got that to do with?
We can make that work. Hey, it's gonna take them some time to get this ready.
Yeah.
I make a motion, we approve.
I second that.
We have a motion and a second to fund the $119,000. All in favor?
Bring the dumpster in there.
Yes, my mother. Next is Audrey Smith Ware, request for NCDOT bridge fund.
Good evening. My name is Audrey Smith Ware. My son Mark Ware is also with me this evening. And y'all might be interested in the fact that he's just been appointed a position as North Carolina Veteran Outreach Program Coordinator for the Tri-County in Macon County. But we're both, would like to thank you for allowing us to join you this evening in order to vote on a resolution honoring my mother, Marcella Hampton Smith, by naming a part of Old 64 from Fall Branch Road to Highway 141 in her honor. There's a saying that every life lived unto today is part of the woven history, woven braided history. Every action you take will reflect in someone else's life, their decisions, and their future. That is so true of the life that my mother, Marcella Hampton Smith, lived. She was born in 1915 in Dayton, Tennessee, but her family moved to Cherokee County in 1960, where her father became our county's first county extension agent. Although diagnosed with polio at age 4, her strength, will, and perseverance, and most of all, strong, deeply rooted faith showed others that you can do anything in your life that you set your mind to. While many today would call her disabled, she was the Murphy High School valedictorian. She played basketball at Murphy High as well as Western Carolina. She drove tractors. She pursued her education, and she became a community, regional, and state leader as well as the mother of 4 children. She made God a priority in her life, studying the Bible and serving the Murphy Presbyterian Church for over 60 years. She was one of the first women elders, and she taught Sunday school and served as president of the Women's Circle. Marcella was also a charter member of the Order of Eastern Star, serving as worthy matron, district deputy, and even Grand Representative to the state of West Virginia. So she was provided a service not only to local chapters, but to other chapters throughout the state and neighboring states as well. As an educator, she impacted the lives of thousands who started their education in Cherokee County and continued on to become local, state, and national leaders in many fields of endeavor. Her teaching career started in Bates Creek School in the early 30s at the tender age of 19. She also taught at Martins Creek, in Marble, and lastly at Peachtree Elementary, teaching the 6th and 7th grades, often at the same time. Her days in the classroom were known for getting the work done while having fun, but she was also known for her firm but fair discipline. She coached elementary basketball teams. She served as team mother for the Murphy High School winning period in the 1960s. And even retirement, she served the educational community through her leadership as president of the Cherokee County Retired Educators. She was recognized for her exceptional leadership in Cherokee County's classrooms by being honored as North Carolina Educator of the Year. Although Marcella was known for her many years of teaching, she obtained her BS and master's degree from Western Carolina while operating a dairy and beef cattle farm that she and her husband, Franklin Smith, bought in the Peachtree community in 1942. They operated a general mercantile and feed store located now near the now current medical center, and they helped community dances when I was a child. The farm in Peachtree community, known as Smithmont Farm, still operates today. Many of us don't realize that the state of North Carolina ranks second in the nation in potential agricultural land loss by the year 2040. Smithmont Farm continues today as her legacy, but not only for her family, but for all who benefit from the scenic beauty and bounty of farmland in our western North Carolina mountains. In the early years, the farm sold milk and ran milk trucks to the old Hobel Dairy near the Brasstown community. As her 4 children grew and started their college years, the farm continued as a Black Angus operation. And although her husband passed early in the 60s, she continued to operate the farm and was instrumental in providing, again, educational opportunities to students at the University of Georgia Vet School, as well as Western Carolina. Over the years, the farm has worked with many of our cooperative extensions, Hiwassee River Watershed, NRCS, and the Soil and Water Conservation District. And these collaborations earned the farm the county's Conservation Farm Family Award, which recognizes farm families locally and statewide that stand out in leadership to ensure practices that protect soil, water, wildlife, and our valuable natural resources. The farm was also awarded the Area 1 Conservation Farm Family of the Year, competing with the 15 counties in the western North Carolina area. Therefore, I'd like to have you join me in honoring my mother, Marcella Smith, a longtime and honored educator, a pioneer and award-winning farmer, and a widely known community and faith leader who spent her life feeding minds, nourishing bodies, and feeding souls. Thank you for allowing me to speak.
And I'd just like to say that you, your mother for many years, graduated with Audrey, however, she's held up a little better than I have through the years. But I would like to make a motion that we would do this request, and we have the resolution here in front of us, which basically states the issues you've presented. So I make a motion that we approve this.
I'll second that motion, Audrey.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Thank you.
That's easy, decision we make.
Yeah, that wasn't uncontroversial, that's all right. You can come back again, Audrey, we'll try. Now we have a,
If you'll excuse me, I have a hungry husband.
we have a request from Region A for appointments to the area agency, so area of aging, so council. So we, reappointment of Linda May and the appointment of Andy Zion.
And Susan Lane.
And Andy is here to give a brief introduction.
Andy, do you want to step up and tell us a little? I know all about you, but some of the others might not. Andy runs the community center out at Unaka.
Lived here for 13 years now. I'm here at the invitation of my neighbor Nancy Elizabeth Helms, who is a well-known instigator, person involved in the activities of the community and the county. She asked me to help with this committee, and I'm happy to take this off of her hands and do what I can for the county and for our community to try and access the resources that may be available for helping the seniors and veterans in our community.
Motion to approve.
Let's see, since we have one that's not here, we'll hold up on that one because it didn't appear. So can we get a motion to approve the reappointment of Linda and the appointment of Andy?
Motion to approve those two.
Okay, motion, we have a second.
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
And the only other thing is, yes, we do need dumpsters in Jamaica, but I'd like to open up the name of the convenience center to, some discussion or input from the community to see if any, if there be anything other than the Unaka Convenience Center. But, thank you very much.
Okay. Next, we have a request to reappoint Denise Cross to the Joint Community Care Advisory Committee.
I make a motion to reappoint Denise. She's absolutely fantastic at what she does.
Yes, it is.
Have a couple of seconds. Okay, all in favor? Next item.
I make a motion that we do a 5-minute break
Six.
before, but 6 minutes before we start with the next item.
Yeah. Okay. This is, the next item will be the housing study, which I think everyone will find this of interest. So this is a very intense study that's been done in Cherokee County, which I think will have a huge impact on potential housing growth here in our county. Mr. Bowen, you'll stand over that trap door there so we can.
No. Now, before we get started, we also have Sarah Grimes. And Sarah, who's your new boss?
Mark Constantine.
Very good. Dogwood Health Trust.
Oh,
They funded
okay.
the project for us.
Thank you. Hey,
That's right. They provided the funding.
say hello to Sarah Thompson.
I will.
All right. Hey, I'll speak to you before you leave. Okay, all right. We ready?
Ready.
Yes, sir.
Good evening.
Hello.
Thanks for having me. Again, I'm Patrick Bowen, President of Bowen National Research. We did the housing needs assessment here in Cherokee County. Tonight, because of out of respect of your time, this will be kind of a high level highlights of things. Tomorrow I'm speaking twice, so that those that want to hear a little bit more, I assume this is open to the public tomorrow. Yep. So this is at noon tomorrow and at 5:30 at the Center for Applied Technology in Marble. So if anybody wants to hear that tomorrow, I'll get into a lot more details, and there'll be opportunities for, I suspect, for the audience to ask questions and people to kind of talk through some of the issues.
Yeah, Paul, you provide lunch?
Anytime he provides lunch, it's pot of meat and crackers. Okay.
All right, well, let me jump in. We got just a few things to cover. All right, so a lot went into this. This is the scope of work. We looked at a lot of different demographics, economic, housing inventory, and then other things we kind of threw in a catch-all, we call other housing factors, whether it's commuting patterns, migration patterns, all your community services, crime, looking at residential blight, looking at possible sites to develop here in the county, looking at development costs, housing regulations, different programs that might be available. We looked at special needs populations like the disabled, veterans, and other groups. I will not cover all those this evening. I'll just hit maybe on a couple that I think are critical. And then we will talk a little bit about community engagement. We got a lot of good input from the community, and thanks to Mr. Patton, Mr. Worley, Mr. Wiggins. We got a lot of good word out to folks to participate in these surveys. I think in the end we got close to 650, 700 folks. Some of you board members probably participated in the stakeholder surveys, employer surveys, resident surveys, non-resident commuter survey we did. We got a lot of input from a lot of people. I'll share some of those highlights tonight. Also, we did housing gap estimates. Basically, in the end, where are the needs in terms of shortage of housing, whether it's rental or for sale? We also have some recommendations to think about. And lastly, you won't see it here tonight, and actually I won't do too much tomorrow, but in the report itself, we do cut up the county into 3 areas. We do have Murphy by itself, Andrews by itself, and then the rest of the county. So there's a lot of data. You will see just a little bit of that kind of sub-market cut up here this evening. All right, just a few demographics I wanted to share with you. I thought they were critical. This is household trends. As a county, you were growing a lot in 2010 to 2020, with the exception of Andrews. And then in 2020 to 2022, over the last couple of years, the same thing, that you were having growth in these communities, at least Murphy and the balance of county, where most of the growth occurred. Andrews was still not growing, and one of the things that's projected for the future, this is households again, not population, these are households. Household growth for the county is expected to be positive. You're expected to add about 216 households. If nothing changes, if there's no change with the economy, with additional changes with interest rates on mortgages, if the community doesn't do anything different, you are still expected to add a couple hundred households here in the county. Most of that growth is going to occur outside of Murphy and Andrews. All right, so you're going to grow some, but you're also going to change a lot. And so this is, in this graph here, this is household growth by age groups. The youngest on the top, the older households on the bottom. This is 2022 to 2027. And as you can see, you got a lot of growth expected among those that are age 75 and older. That's no different than much of the country with baby boomers. Now, you're not growing as much as in that 65 to 74 age group. That's a little bit unusual for a lot of the communities that we see. So you've got a lot of older folks here, and that base is going to get bigger as time goes by. You will have a little bit growth among those 35 to age 44, older millennials. Again, similar to what we see around the country. And one other thing to point out, you expected to lose folks between the ages of 25 to 34, so up near the top there, that is normal. The younger millennials around the country, they're not staying in rural communities, they're heading to the bigger cities, the Charlottes, the Asheville's, Raleigh's, places like that. Normal trend, a lot of communities are trying to figure out how do we hold on to these young people. Probably can't see the numbers very well, but I'll talk you through this real quick. This is renter households by income. Top half is Cherokee County. Bottom half is how you compare it to the state of North Carolina. These are different income bands across the top. 2 things to really point out to you here is most of your renter households, almost 60% of them earn less than $40,000 a year. So you have a lot of lower income renter households. Where's the growth expected to occur in the next 5 years? I circled it on that far right-hand side. Most of that growth expected to occur, again, this is renters that make $60,000 to $99,000 a year. So again, if nothing changes, these are the expected trends that should occur in this area. That's going to drive 2 things. The growth is going to drive need for higher priced rental housing. Pretty normal, a lot of parts of the country we see. But you've got such a big base of lower income households, and I'll show you here in a minute, they don't have much available to them. There's a big wait list for affordable housing, so there's definitely a need for affordable rentals. And we did the same thing. This is owner households. Again, Cherokee County on top, state of North Carolina on the bottom. Most of your growth is expected to occur among those that make over $60,000 over the next 5 years. But you still have a lot of low income homeowners, and as I said before, a lot of low income renters who someday will become homeowners, so it's still a big base of your population or households. So affordable housing will also be key. I'll show you what you have available for folks to purchase in a second.
On those percentages, if I could ask, on the, right there on the 60 to 99 and the 100 plus.
Yes, sir.
That is 8%
Growth.
growth of
Yes.
the total.
Correct.
Growth.
So
Okay.
that-
And 25% for the 100 and over of the
Correct.
total growth.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
This one I wanted to have in here to share. This is one of those moments to think about opportunity. So if I think about, well, if you could see it that way, maybe.
I can go the other way.
It does look bigger over here. You have about 3,200 people that commute into the county every day for work. And I remember when I was talking to Mr. Worley, Mr. Wiggins about some of the characteristics, I knew nothing about this area. And that was one of the things they had shared with me, that they thought there were a lot of folks coming in from outside the area. I don't have slides here for tonight, but in the study we do get into where are these people coming from. You do have a lot of folks coming from Georgia and then also just around your region. We have information on their incomes. In fact, I put up here real quick at the very bottom, most of these people that are commuting in every day are between ages of 30 and 54. And most have incomes anywhere, monthly incomes from about $1,200 to $3,300. So that's basically gets you up to about $40,000 a year. So got a lot of low-income households here. Now keep in mind those incomes I just cited up there, that's per person, it's not a household. So if a dual couple, dual income household was together, their incomes would be much higher. Nonetheless, you've got a lot of people coming in here every day to work, and this is, I think, an opportunity for the county. Because you have some growth that's expected to occur, but right there's your opportunity. But you'll see here in just a second, you don't have housing available. And I think that's holding you back in terms of some of your growth potential. All right, these are your rental properties. So multifamily apartment properties, only apartment properties. 11 of them that we surveyed. This is where my staff actually calls the properties and asks them about their rental rates, vacancies, their features. We have tons of information on all these properties. I won't share that tonight. I'll show an example of it tomorrow. The point being, you have 291 units that are apartments. You've got one vacant. One vacant. It doesn't matter what it is, whether it's market rate or tax credit, which is moderate to low income, to government subsidized, the lowest income households. You have nothing available. You have a 99.7% occupancy rate. You normally want that to be about 94, 96. Because you want some vacancy so people can move in and out, they get married, people coming into the area, they get a raise, they want a different apartment, whatever their circumstances might be. You want some availability, you don't have it. The other thing is 9 of the 11 properties that we surveyed had wait lists, I think the largest being 400 households. So there is serious pent-up demand for additional multifamily apartments in this area. And not to make you feel like, well, what's wrong with us or why are we different? You are not different. I've been doing this for 27 years. The last 2 years, I've done more of these housing needs assessments than I've ever done in probably the preceding 8 years. There's a housing crisis going on. You're just part of what the whole nation is facing. In Western North Carolina, we've done a ton of work here, and it's happening in a lot of the counties here in the western part of the state. All right, so you can't rent an apartment, or at least there's not much available. What else can you rent? These are non-conventional rentals, so this would be anything else that's not an apartment. So it can be a duplex, a house, a mobile home, a unit over a storefront. That's non-conventional rentals. That makes up over 90% of your rental housing stock. Again, fairly normal for a more rural community. 75% of these have rents of under, at least people are paying rents under $1,000. So now we did the same thing for the apartments. I wanted to know what was available, and we found 12. 12 available units that are available in terms of these types of housing units, rental units. That's a 99.5% occupancy rate, again, extremely high. Now, most of those that are available, the rents are over $1,000. And it's a large portion of your households here that cannot afford $1,000 or more rent. So, some availability, but still very limited. Rents, not affordable. So you can start to see a trend here with your rental housing stock. We also look at your senior care facilities. I think you have 3. We surveyed 2 of them that we can get a hold of. You have 61 out of 210 beds vacant, so it's an occupancy rate of 76%. We compared that with the national average. This would have been the second quarter of last year's numbers for the national numbers. That's 78%, so you're close to where the national number was for nursing homes. Keep in mind, the country is still coming out of the effects of COVID. A lot of nursing homes, assisted living facilities, and places like that have struggled with either staff, having enough staff to operate their facilities, or even just families concerned about putting their family members in a senior care facility. So occupancy rates are much lower in the last couple of years for senior care housing. You have that same challenge here in Cherokee County. I will say this though, you saw just moments ago, I showed you all those household projections, and where was the growth? It was in those households age 75 older. So there is going to be a demand for this type of housing in the short term, or near term, I should say. All right, we looked at available for sale housing. We do have in the study, again, I don't present it here tonight, we have a lot of historical for sale information. This is the available supply. We also cut this up all different ways. I wanted to show you this particular table because it is a little bit telling. So you have 222 homes that are available to purchase. This would have been August of last year. And for, in the realtor market, realtors look at how much inventory in terms of time is available. So you have 3.3 months of supply. So if nobody built any more housing and nobody put a house on the market, those 222 homes would be gone in about 3.3 months. Normally, a healthy market, you want about 4 or 6 months of inventory, so you are a little bit thin in terms of what you have. We also, though, my firm, one of the things I do is I have an availability rate up there. I put 2.2%. That's taking those 222 vacant units, comparing it to all owner-occupied housing. You have 2.2% available. You want about 2 or 3% is a healthy market. So that might tell you, okay, maybe we do have enough inventory. But the table tells the full story. In that table, you can see by whether we did Andrews, Murphy, or the balance of the county, a bulk of that inventory is in the balance of county. The bulk of that product that's available is priced at $300,000 or more. So you have inventory. It seems like you might have availability, but it's all put into that higher priced product. Look at the stuff I shaded in the top half of that in that tan color. You have 19 homes countywide, priced under $200,000. And chances are anybody that's looking for a home in this area, let's say that I was coming here, and I have a specific expectation. I can afford a $175,000 home or something in that range. I need a certain bedroom type. Well, that's going to eliminate some of those, and we do show that in our report. I only want to live in the balance of county. I don't want to live in Murphy or Andrews. So my inventory, what I'm looking for is really actually small. And think of employers when they're trying to relocate to an area. There's a ton of things they look at, right? They're looking at the taxes, other things like that. Where can I find land to put my business or a building? Many things go in their equation. I promise you, housing is part of that equation. I talk to economic development people all the time, all over the country when we do these studies, and they say, Patrick, it used to be the schools, the tax base, the workforce. Those were all common questions that prospective companies would ask. Housing is either the top question now or it's near the top. And so you have an inventory that I showed you in terms of the rental supply, whether it was the apartments or those non-conventional, or this for sale housing stock. It's very limited availability, and much of it's not affordable to a typical workforce. So you have a housing shortage, you have an availability challenge. But these are the opportunities. They're good things. These are signs, at least from the developer side, okay, this is a place I might want to explore and invest in. We did a ton of other things, but I just want to share at least one or two of the extra things we did. This is development sites, potential development sites. We found 32 across the county. Most of them are in Andrews or Murphy. So you do have a lot of sites here. Those are in the study. We have some details on those properties. That would be, if I was in charge of efforts to try to get development to come to this area, that would be one of the things I would promote. There are some communities that we study, they don't have very many sites, and that is a challenge, especially with some of the topography that you face in western North Carolina. So 32 sites is a good opportunity to encourage developers to come here.
Now, those 32 sites that you're talking about there, is that people who we know want to sell their land, or is that just like a large acreage of land?
Some of it would be, because my staff did some research on our own. Some of it we gathered from the community, so I don't know for sure if all 32 of those, or somebody has put that on the market, has listed it. I suspect most of those are available. With that said, though, we'll go the other way. You said with those large parcels, there's probably tons of parcels out there that if somebody knew a developer was interested, then they might put their home or their property on the market. So
a lot of those are going to be available. And one of the things we looked at was
I'm sorry, could you?
a lot of those properties are available. A lot of them have access to sewer and water as well.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask. How many percentage wise, a decent percent had because.
Do we have it broke down by acreage too, how much of those are left?
We got a book
Mhm.
where it has all of it.
Okay, all right.
And we might have added to what you guys gave me. We do have the size of those parcels. A lot of them, in fact, I put up here, somewhere 16 of those properties are actually buildings. At least have parcels with buildings on them. Some are small, but I think you had one that was almost 15,000 square feet. So you've got land, you've got buildings. Some developers, they specialize in taking a building and doing something with it. You've got both, and that's a good thing. A lot of programs that are available, whether it's to you all.
We lost you.
And
He thought he'd gone over it, didn't he?
that trap door to open here. But there's a lot of programs available. We have details on those programs. These are programs that you can get through the federal government, state, or other. These are for actual help developers, local communities. Actually, some of them are directly for residents themselves. So a lot of programs that are out there. And then the surveys that we did. So we did 3 different surveys. This is one of them. It's the resident commuter survey. Over 700 people responded to this thing. So that is incredible. Because I do a lot of communities that are bigger than Cherokee County, and I don't get anything close to that. So again, to the gentleman that all helped me on this, I didn't touch that. All right, that's awesome. That is really good news. We got a good, robust survey. The top half of it showing there in the blue, the bullets, just a couple that I put up there, of what the residents were telling us. And what did they tell us? They told us housing market has many issues. I think 60% or something like that said, hey, we got some housing issues here. Most of them said it had tied to cost burden, meaning the homes are just very expensive here, or rents are very expensive. And most folks mentioned to us that single family homes were needed. Housing, remember before I said you're losing folks that are younger, under the age of 35. Well, that's what your residents are saying. We need housing for these younger families. The other part that's really helpful, I think, to you all is the non-residents in the survey. And you see in the second bullet point, while it's still sitting up there, let's all quickly absorb that. 52%, so over half of them said that they are interested in moving here. That's one of the higher shares that we got. So clearly, people that are coming here to work want to live here. And even if Patrick Bowen's commuting here every day, you just saw moments ago, if I just want to make the leap and just move here from Ohio, I'm not going to commute there from Ohio, but if I'm commuting into this area, I don't have much to choose from. So your housing market's holding back a lot of those folks. Now, will really 52% of these commuters come here? No. But that's telling you there's something about your community. They want to be here. There's an opportunity to grab some of these folks. So you can certainly grow more than I think the current projections show. You just got to have housing be part of that solution. And then we have up there, most of them prefer modern, move-in ready, single-family homes. What can they afford to pay on a monthly basis? Anywhere from $751 to $1,250. That's a rent. I suspect we ask questions about mortgages too, but generally gives you an idea of what people are willing to pay. We had 9 employers respond to the survey. 2/3 of them told us that housing is hurting them, their ability to retain or attract workers. When we asked them what kind of housing issues your employees face, it's affordability was the primary obstacle, and that's usually the case. It's either affordability and or availability. So here it was affordability of your housing. We asked them what kind of housing, in terms of an affordability level, would be most needed for rents. They mentioned the rents of under $1,250 or a home price under $300,000. So no surprises there. That's probably what most of their workforce can afford. That 4th bullet point is probably one of the bigger findings as well. So you saw a minute ago how many people would move here. That's a big finding. Here's your employers are telling us over half of them said they're more likely to hire if housing was provided. So if you could solve your housing issue, your employers are indicating they'd hire more people, but your housing market's holding them back from doing what they want to do. And then we did ask them how many of them were interested in providing any kind of housing assistance, and over half of them said they would be interested. Now, we didn't ask, we may have got into what type of housing assistance they want to provide. But one of the things I've noticed since COVID is there's a lot of employers, like I said minutes ago, about economic development saying housing is one of the biggest things to them now when they get phone calls from prospective companies. And so a lot of employers that I'm talking to around the country are saying, look, I understand my company's viability is tied to the housing market. I want to be part of the solution. So if it was me and I was involved in trying to push this forward to try to come up with a solution, I would absolutely be bringing employers to the table, some of your bigger employers, to see what role they could play, because this absolutely impacts them. They have more interest than ever before being part of the solution. So I would definitely reach out to them and make them part of the conversation. And maybe some of them will be attending tomorrow, for all I know. And the last of the surveys was the stakeholders. So again, probably some of you here in this room participated in this. It's basically any community leader. We asked them many of the same questions. What are the housing issues? They mentioned availability, rent affordability specifically. We asked them what kind of barriers exist for development. And these are no surprise, it's cost of labor, land, or even just the overall cost of development. We get that answer all the time now. It used to be maybe local building code, zoning, can't find sites, whatever it is, but now it's really tied to cost is one of the things that's holding back developers. We asked them priorities in terms of what type of housing should be focused on. It's affordable workforce housing and affordable multifamily apartments. And then some of the specific things that folks needed, renters needed help with security deposits, and homeowners needed down payment assistance, as well as help with home repairs. All right, just a couple more slides. This is one of the big ones. Again, this is basically now the housing gap estimate. So this is where we take a bunch of stuff together, household growth, replacing of some of your substandard housing, and other factors. We broke it out, rental housing on top, for sale on the bottom. Overall, if you want to solve all of your housing needs and meet all of your housing potential, you need about 1,400 units over the next 5 years. You know, you're not going to build all those. I understand that. But what that's demonstrating to the development and investment community is like, look, this is a county that has great potential and great opportunity. Almost 500 rental units, almost 1,000 for sale housing units. We break it out by all those different affordability levels, whether it's the rental rates or the home prices. But you can see you have a significant housing need across the county. And then these are just the recommendations. These are the 5 categories we had. Goal setting, that's pretty standard for any kind of strategy when you're trying to approach housing, but you do need to think about, as a community, do we want to focus on new construction? Do we want to preserve housing? What is the right balance for that type? You could even get into trying to prioritize, do we focus on our workforce? Do we focus on seniors? As you saw, those numbers are so big in terms of growth. What are we focusing on as a community? And then even then looking at what kind of funding sources are out there to kind of accomplish those things from the governmental side. Developers will do their part as well to try to find the adequate funding sources. To me, capacity building is probably the biggest part. I'm going to show you a couple other recommendations, but if you don't have this piece here, this will not succeed. Capacity building means somebody has got to take charge. Somebody has to take the lead. I listed various organizations here. We have a representative from Foursquare, which was just coincidental that I put them up here. There's a lot, and they're not volunteering for this. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying there's a lot of organizations you have in place that could be the folks that take the lead, or at least a part of this conversation. It could be an existing employee within local or county government that takes on this role if that person has some background in housing. You could hire somebody that's a professional to spearhead some of these efforts. Someone needs to take the lead. Someone has to be responsible for this. I mean, every community has great ideas. You have I believe an awesome study at your disposal. Worst thing that happened, this sits on a shelf. It's like, we have a housing need, but okay, we don't have anybody to take charge. You do need to find somebody. You can create your own housing committee, a task force, if that's what it is, where you bring community leaders with various expertise levels. They could be the ones that spearhead that. So there's a lot of things you can do, but somebody has to take charge. A couple more here. Marketing and outreach. You have, again, over 1,400 units needed. That's something that should be promoted to the development investment community. You have 32 and probably many more sites that you could develop upon. That should be promoted. There's also, you should be thinking about strategies to attract those commuters that are coming into this area. There's an opportunity, obviously, to grab them. And I'm going to go ahead and just move. I can see here. Yep, development. Well, you're seeing the other version. But anyway, development preservation tools. Well, I'm almost done, so I'll just leave this up here. Development and preservation tools. There's a lot of different strategies and things out there that you can do to encourage, incentivize development. From a local government standpoint, you can do that. You have other things that you could explore, whether it's setting up a land bank, housing trust fund. You have 2 qualified opportunity zones, so there are areas in your county that you can use to leverage to get for funds to get developers to invest here. So the much that you can explore in terms of trying to figure out other things you can do as a community to try to address and encourage residential development. And then the last two things really is pretty 101 in terms of trying to address housing, and that is, you know, you have data here today. Over time, that should be monitored. It's annually, every couple years or whatever. That's something that you don't need us for. I can give guidance on what you want to what I would be monitoring. The home prices, availability, it's a simple task to do. We can show you that, but you want to monitor what you're doing, because you're going to hopefully make some decisions in the months and years ahead that are going to affect housing, affect developers trying to come here, those kind of things, your priorities. But you want to monitor, are we making progress? Are we making a difference? And then the last thing here, you started it, right? We're here tonight talking about keeping the community informed. You have the 2 meetings tomorrow. That is part of that process. Don't stop that. As elected officials, you know your challenges, right? When you have you're making decisions and people don't know everything. You said it yourself, right? There's things that you know and there's things that you're making a decision on that maybe the public isn't always aware of. The housing is the same thing, right? You want to make sure that these folks get this out to the public, but keep folks informed and engaged in this process so that they know, hey, okay, we're about to make this decision. It may be a tough decision, or maybe it's not a tough decision. But nonetheless, we're making some decisions here to move our community forward in terms of addressing housing, and we want everybody to be on board with that. And with that, I will answer any questions you have. Hopefully I did that in adequate time.
So if someone's planning on coming to the informational class tomorrow, that class will be approximately how long?
I don't know what you guys block. I have about a 45, maybe 50-minute presentation. I'll cover a lot of this, but I'll get deeper in some other areas that we studied that we didn't even touch tonight. But 12 to 5:30. All right, so we got 5.5 hours. So we
Yeah.
5:32.
I know Paul too well. No, it won't be 5
until the crackers run out.
Yeah, the crackers will be gone. Yeah.
Is there a possibility to put this study on our website?
We actually have the full study on our
Okay,
website.
good. It's an interesting study, because I know when we got it and looking at it, it details way down in depth.
Yeah. And let me just add this real quick. I was going to add this real quick. You said there's a lot of details in there. We armed this study with so much data that many of you won't care about, some of the community will not care about. But I'm trying to think about everybody I can touch with this thing. And so I was always thinking about, among you all, I was thinking about investors and developers and those that might have some, might want to participate in trying to help you solve your housing issues. So there's a lot of data in there that they'll look for that you could care less about, but I know there's certain metrics that they're like, oh, that's a good signal for me. That represents an opportunity. Those are the rents I can get. I mean, that's gonna be one of, you have sites, we have that answer. What kind of rent can I get? That's in here. If I want to get a certain home price, they know what they can get. So there's a lot of good data in there for other people to use this.
We started a needs and solutions advisory committee a few months ago. I'm thrilled to see members of that committee in here. I attended their meeting last week, and I will tell you, the number one thing that they are discussing in that committee is the housing need.
Okay.
So this is spot on perfect. And again, I appreciate you guys coming to this meeting and listening.
So, thank y'all, first of all, that this happened, because this assessment is foundational to any planning that we need to consider for this county. And one of the things, and one of the primary reasons I decided to take the job I took as Foursquare AD was because this was the biggest root issue that I could determine in the county. When I'm looking, you know, I'm a nurse, and I have a lot of health background, and I have a lot of public health background. But one of the foundational things for better outcomes for everything that you can consider, education, health, well-being, all those things, is whether or not someone has a stable home to go home, lay their head, and know that that's a safe place for them to be. And I can tell you from the very first month I've been here, back in this role, you know, it has been alarming to me. We have vouchers, for example, that are Section 8 vouchers that help, you know, with supplement rent for people that cannot afford rent. but there was nowhere for people to rent. We have over 160 empty vouchers. People that if we had places, we could put them, and we could supplement them. And, you know, we're also doing a Healthy Opportunities pilot. We're one of the primary Western North Carolina groups that is working on this Healthy Opportunities pilot. What this pilot is designed to do is to address health and safety needs for our Medicaid, our lowest income residents here in the community. It's been alarming. I would just say it has been alarming to see the conditions that many of our children, our elderly, and others are living in. You can't expect the schools to be able to educate a child that lives in some of the conditions that we're seeing right now. So kudos to everyone that brought this to play. It is a pivotal point for us as a county, in my opinion. Whether or not we embrace this, we develop a really wise plan to move it forward.
I know, Paul, in the past, we've had inquiries, you know, for apartment complexes. So now with a study like this, they can put this in hand and go to a bank or some financial institution, and this will help substantiate the monies to do a project like this. So this would really be huge for that.
I hear that all the
standpoint.
time from folks that say there's projects that maybe sat on the shelf because they just couldn't get a bank to get comfortable with it. I just had that conversation for Charleston, West Virginia last week, where somebody was trying to do a project and the bank's like, I'm not touching this. We did our study, that company ended up getting their financing, and now they're doing a second project because that one went so quickly, and I knew it would. So you're correct. This will help. This is going to help start a conversation on a lot of projects and get things moving forward. So that's my hope.
And then I think I'd just like to say, if it hadn't been for Sarah and Don, there's no way we would have been able to do this.
Well, that was my next thing, was to thank you for the funding to make this happen for our county, because without that, we wouldn't be here. So we thank you for doing that for us, and all the hard work that you've put into it. It's a huge start for us and for the NASA committee as they're moving forward and as we're getting ready.
We did one a few years ago, was it $12,000 funded?
Yeah.
Yeah, so, you know, there's a little difference here, so that really didn't, it was a shot in the dark, but it didn't help any. But now this
Our
will
last
have
one,
some.
2018.
Yeah.
And when we kind of recognized the situation was coming up, it was starting down that road that it was crucial when we did this one.
We're not gonna let this one sit on the shelf.
Well, I've heard of 2 or 3 different projects that were supposedly apartments were going here or affordable housing here, but that's all you do, you hear, and it's never this money financing they can't get. So hopefully with this, we will be able to, and they can, I mean, there's some good places to do some development.
And I think with the comments that Sue Lynn made, lends to Dogwood with the health money to do something, that shows it a direct correlation on how it could help here in Cherokee County with that, which is a serious issue. Well, thank you very much. We have any other questions? If not, you can be there at 12 o'clock tomorrow or 5:30. Get filled in. Paul will be there. He'll answer any
So
and all
long as y'all
questions.
recruit a bunch of builders.
Make it up.
Y'all recruit a bunch of builders, must be.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
You can do it, if anybody can.
We got a couple of items left here, quick, with the tax refunds. I'd like to get a motion to
Motion to
approve.
approve.
Second.
Second.
All in favor? Okay. Now the approval of the Crime Prevention Council.
Motion to approve.
Do we have any other?
Second.
Okay. It's a great organization. All right.
Yes.
Motion in a second. All in favor? Now, county manager, okay, we're holding up.
So the pickleball facility built down at the pickleball courts, they need a ADA accessible ramp built in order for that to get CO'd. Got Pee Wee to get a quote. It was a cheaper quote than the pickleball group was able to get from one of their groups, $5,400. You know, their request was to put this in for next year's budget. I honestly think this needs done now. There's no point in the investment, so go ahead and get that done and get the CO that can be utilized. If the board would approve a use of fund balance of $5,400 to cover the cost of this project.
I'll make the motion to approve the $5,400.
We have a second.
I'll say.
I'll second.
Okay.
I wish they had thought of that beforehand when they come to us.
Well, it's Ben's fault, because we surveyed, he found it a little higher
It's
out of
my
the
fault.
floodplain, and so that's.
But, yeah, what happened was we did a free floodplain, plain said it was a lot lower than what we thought it was, so.
All right. Motion and a second, all in favor? Okay, do you have anything else, sir?
Just a little thing called the fiscal year 24 recommended budget, if you're interested.
Yeah, we'll
I
take
make
it.
a motion, we don't do it.
You can make something so big look very little here.
Yeah, well, we try to condense it down to the highlights anyway.
This is available, ain't it?
It will be.
We had 60.
60, is it 60?
The first line's that.
Okay, I guess the main thing is we're holding the line on the millage rate.
Yeah, so here be the highlights, right? No increase to the property tax millage rate of 60 cents. And again, this isn't the adopted budget, this is just recommended. No increase in fees, $500,000 addition to the general fund balance, a little over 2.9 million, of course, addition to designated general fund balance for the July 15th, 2024 settlement payment. It is required. An increase in budgeted sales tax proceeds of 7%, approximately $805,000 over the FY23 approved budget. An increase in budgeted TVA payments in lieu of taxes of about $250,000. We are recommending a 2% cost of living adjustment for our employees. Operational expansion of the solid waste program, which we spoke about earlier, for the additional staffing for Texana and Unaka. $400,000, which has been our standard to appropriate toward contingency for the unforeseen, because as the board knows, it typically gets spent before December. About $133,234 increase in funding to the Valley River Humane Society. $192,000 increase in our insurance and bonding. That's primarily our property and liability insurance. And that is not due to any particular claims, that's just statewide, that's what's happening. $1.5 million use of general fund balance for 4 major capital needs that aren't those recurring, what we would call operational capital. Articulating dump truck of $260,000, a front loader solid waste collection truck of $393,000, 3 Fraser ambulance remounts at $664,000, and the health department flooring system replacement at $250,000. Now, we know that we've asked for some legislative funding, and if the state approves the budget and we see that we have funding there, that's definitely one item that potentially could be replaced if they were to fund a new health facility. 64.9% of the total general fund expenditures are allocated to the following functions. Public safety makes up 27% of that, human services 23%, and education 14.9%. Those are the highlights.
Okay. Do you have anything else, sir?
And we will adjust the millage rate, because we did make a
It's
typo. It's
61,
61.
isn't it? Yeah.
But we are holding the line. There is no recommendation for an increase to the millage rate.
Well, I first and foremost want to thank you and Candy for all the effort that went into this, because that was huge to not increase the millage rate this year. Huge.
And then
Do we have?
the insurance will drop to, Candy, is this correct? The insurance will drop to $5 million per incident?
What was that? I'm sorry.
We're talking about our coverage per
Our
incident,
coverage on
liability
insurance.
coverage.
They won't let you go that high anymore.
4 million.
Yeah, insurance will only let us add 3 extra million instead of 4.
They
That's-
reduced it statewide.
Statewide, that's not just to us, that's.
$3 we can have here.
3 above the 2.
So it's 5 total.
Okay, that's what I meant.
Okay,
Yes.
yes.
All right, what, any commissioner item?
I just want- I did attend, as I said, the NASA committee meeting last week, very informative. Again, I thank them for volunteering and stepping up for that. Their meetings are open to the public. Their next and they're moving to different communities. They were down in Hiawassee Dam, and that's the one I went to. And it's always the second Tuesday of the month at 6:30. The next one is at the Texana Community Center. and that's June 13th. And then the one after that is July 11th at the Bellevue Community Center. And there's others there. I think, Maria, if we can post this on our website, can we do that with their schedule? And that way everybody will have access to when the next ones are.
Any other items? If not, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Okay. Thank you.